It is that Mr Salmond has to say is likely to be pitched at the outside, at the electorate who are going to go to the polls in September and vote on Scottish independence. I'm sure everything that's being done this weekend has that in mind, has the grand prize in mind of winning a yes vote on September. We'd probably say that they've tried to be inclusive all along. In fact, let's listen now, because the First Minister, Alex Salmond, the leader of the Scottish National Party, to great applause, great cheers, is now taking to the stage for one of the most important speeches of his career. So let's just listen in to what he has to say. He's certainly been given a rapturous reception here by the SNP delegates who've packed into this conference centre in Aberdeen for this moment. As I say, they're fired up, they're excited, and they're looking forward to this speech.
Well, needless to say, delegates, the fact that the Scottish Grand National is on today tells you that it's not me who decides the timing of the Scottish National Party conferences. Of course, I've got no interest whatsoever in photobombing, but I was just thinking this saltire lamb up in Dingwall, we could probably squeeze in a visit sometime next week. It is... It's great to be in a conference here in Aberdeen, and we're here as ordinary members of the Scottish National Party. But we are the most privileged members of the SNP in that entire 80-year history. For this generation has the opportunity our forebears could only dream about. We're no longer just members of a political party. As we've heard from Blair Jenkins, we're now part of a greater movement, a movement of young, old, women, men, trade unionists, business people, writers, artists. It's a movement of glorious diversity, reflecting our country's rich spirit. It's dedicated to a common goal to build a better Scotland, to create a fairer society, to become an independent country. Now, make no mistake, the momentum is with this campaign. People are coming towards us. Political public meetings are being revived. Halls have been crowded across Scotland as we discuss our nation's future. And the messages from the hundreds who attend the meeting are amplified 100 times over through the social media, and the campaign momentum continues on. Now, can the no campaign match this? Well, not really. I mean, to do it, you'd have to first organise meetings, and then you'd have to get people wanting to turn up. You know, last month, the BBC finally discovered that this grassroots campaign was underway and tried, obviously, to cover both sides of the debate. The problem was that the No campaign struggled to find them any grassroots group to film, or even a single grassroot. It was a bit like what happened just a few weeks back when the London and the Scottish cabinets met the same day here in Aberdeen. And what a contrast that made. We met in Portlethen Church Hall in a public meeting with hundreds of people. The London cabinet met in private behind the security screen at the headquarters of Shell Oil. Big oil meets big government with small ideas. So let me repeat. Let me repeat my offer to David Cameron. Prime Minister, we can drum up a crowd for you in Scotland. I mean, all you have to do is say yes to a debate. I mean, what can you possibly be frightened of? Just think how well your deputy did debating UKIP. And let's think about it. If the fourth and fifth parties in Scotland can have a television debate, then why not the First Minister and the Prime Minister? So let us at last have that debate about the future of this country in an open and democratic way, and let us agree to do it now. Of course, not everyone is feared on the no side. One man is still game. Alistair, help me Rona Carmichael, is in there fighting hard for the Westminster establishment. Last month, Alistair was in home turf in Shetland, a safe distance he must have felt from Nicola Sturgeon. I've been reading the Shetland News, which has the motto, "Great is the truth and it will prevail." And I saw that Alistair had not lost his touch. After a debate with Mike McKenzie, MSP, and local activist Dana Skeen, the Shetland News reported, a show of hands revealed that McKenzie and Skeen had succeeded in widening the gap between yes and no from a single vote to 22. Great is the truth and it will prevail. The problem for the no campaign is this: the more the people of Scotland hear the case for no, the more likely they are to vote yes. And no wonder. They are the most miserable, negative, depressing and thoroughly boring campaign in political history. They're already out of touch with the people, and now I fear they're losing touch with reality. Lord Robertson told a startled Washington that the forces of darkness are getting ready to celebrate a yes vote. The forces of darkness. Darth Vader, Ming the Merciless, the Klingons, Lex Luthor, they're all watching this debate intently. Mind you, I'm told the Daleks ain't too happy. Word has reached them that Doctor Who is to be banned from an independent Scotland. Delegates, that is the no campaign. Totally laughable and completely ludicrous. There is, though, a serious point. We are engaged in a consensual constitutional process, which will be decided at the ballot box. It's not a unique process, but it is rare and precious, and it's something which should be cherished. The referendum in Scotland is being held up to the world as an example of best practice, as an exemplar. We should do everything in our power to keep it that way, and each and every one of us carries that individual responsibility. A people exercising the right to self-determination in a lawful, agreed, respectful, democratic manner is not a threat, but a noble thing. The Yes campaign is positive, uplifting, hopeful, and must always stay that way. That is the basis on which we shall win this referendum and shall win our independence. Now, friends, there was something else that caught my eye in the report on the Shetland debate. It was this passage, when I quote, "Local architect Ian Malcolmson said he had never been an SNP voter but would vote yes in September. Half his family are Geordies, and a recent trip south for his grandmother's 90th birthday had asked for their views. The response was, of course you should vote yes." Now, this touches on a fundamental truth. Many people who have never voted for our party will be voting yes. And the referendum is not about this party or this First Minister or even the wider Yes campaign. It's about putting Scotland's future into Scotland's hands. And a yes vote in September is not a vote for an SNP government in 2016. It's a vote for a government in Scotland that the people of Scotland choose, pursuing policies the people of Scotland support. It's a vote for a government in control of tax, the economy, social security, employment, immigration, oil and gas revenues, European policy, and the range of other areas currently under Westminster control. That might be the SNP, it might be Labour, it might be a coalition, I can tell you what it won't be. It won't be a government led by a party with just a single member of Parliament in Scotland. It won't be a government dismantling the welfare state, privatising public services, and in independent Scotland we can give this guarantee. The era of Tory governments, unelected by the people of Scotland, handing out punishment to the poor and the disabled, these days will be gone, and gone for good. Now, the Westminster establishment, as you would expect, is fighting hard to maintain its grip in Scotland. David Cameron's government is producing edict after edict, opposing independence. Members of the House of Lords have given us their unelected, distilled wisdom from underneath their ermine robes. All of it is designed to tell Scots how impossibly difficult it would be to run our own country. And they're backed up all the way by a Labour Party leadership that has totally lost its way, that has lost touch with the values of Labour voters, that supports illegal wars, a Cuts Commission to roll back the social democratic gains of devolution, and the Tory assault on social security. Independence will be good for Scottish Labour. The Labour Party, freed from Westminster control, will have the chance to return to core values, many of which we in this party agree with, indeed many of which we share. But there is something that the Scottish National Party will never agree to, will never be a part of, something which we'll campaign against with every fibre of our being. The leadership of the Labour Party are hand in glove with the Tories in a shameful attempt to run Scotland and its people down, and this is the difference. The Westminster establishment telling Scots what we can't do, running Scotland down. The Scottish National Party stressing what we can do, building Scotland up. So let's look at the reality of Scotland's history. Scotland's contribution to humankind has been immense. Great Enlightenment philosophers, our commitment to science, medical advancements, innovators, industrialists, educators, inventors. I'm just back from Scotland Week in New York. There is enormous interest in Scotland, huge profile. It helped us gain over 1,000 jobs this week alone. In the opinion of American historians, Scotland invented the modern world. Something, of course, we wouldn't claim for ourselves, but nonetheless don't mind repeating as often as possible. But still today, modern Scotland. More top universities per head than any other country, a hotbed of life sciences, brilliance in creative industries, a world-class food and drink industry, manufacturers exporting across the world, 25% of Europe's offshore wind and tidal potential, 60% of the European Union's oil reserves, our government 100% committed to building a better future. We will not let anyone tell the people of Scotland that we're not good enough to run our own country. Friends, a short distance from this centre is a vibrant, busy Aberdeen harbour. It's full of vessels servicing Scotland's thriving oil and gas industry. They will be here for many, many decades to come, and the oil and the tax revenues will continue to flow for many decades to come. What a shock this scene must be for the opponents of independence, because in the 1970s they said no to self-government because they told us that all of the oil would be gone by now. In the 1980s, they said no, though the Tories were laying waste to the steel industry, the car industry, and the coal mines. In the 1990s, the doomsayers were still saying no because they said we weren't capable of running our schools and hospitals. That's the no campaign. Wrong in the 70s, wrong in the 80s, Wrong in the 90s, wrong again today. In September, it is time to say yes. Delegate, Scotland has got it what it takes. Our Parliament, working together, produced free personal care for the elderly. We've passed world-leading climate change legislation. And this party in government has restored free education. We've kept Scottish water in public hands. And there's no better example of why decisions about Scotland are best taken in Scotland in the future of our Scottish National Health Service. At Westminster, the NHS has been softened up for privatisation. The Tories are forcing through a costly, confusing, harmful top-down reorganisation. Nurses are being denied the pay rise that they deserve. Scotland has gone down a very different route. We reject the free market in health. We've abolished prescription charges. Nurses in Scotland are getting their recommended pay rise. So let us be absolutely clear, Conference. It is because we have control of the health service that we can give this pledge. Scotland's National Health Service will never be up for sale. Now, Scotland is a wealthy country. We more than pay our way. As an independent nation, would be the 14th most prosperous country in the developed world. The UK are 18th. Is anyone seriously meant to believe that the 14th most prosperous country in the developed world can't sustain itself as an independent country? Of course they don't. Which is why the ratings agency Standard & Poor's, not known for their unbridled optimism on any country's prospects, Standard & Poor's said in February, even excluding North Sea output, Scotland would qualify for our highest economic assessment. And so in September, the people of this wealthy country will face a choice between two futures. One future is to put our faith in Westminster, in a system where the 5 richest families own more wealth than the poorest 12.5 million people, where charities are warning of a poverty storm engulfing Scotland, where families with children need emergency food aid. Delegates, these aren't reasons for putting our faith in Westminster or the Westminster system. These are reasons to get rid of the Westminster system. Now, all of us know, in campaigning for yes, an independent Scotland will not get every decision right. There will be choices to be made and there will be challenges to be faced. The point is to be equipped with the powers we need to meet these challenges, not to shrug our shoulders and accept Scotland as a region of a grossly unequal country, but to take responsibility, to build a more resilient economy, to create jobs and opportunities. And we can do this by capturing a sense of shared national purpose, a shared national mission to build a fairer and more prosperous country, by giving our companies a competitive edge in taxation, by reindustrialising Scotland, by building a lasting social partnership. But more than anything, whether we succeed or fail in our ambition will be down to one factor: the talents and abilities of our people. So the days of wasting talent, denying opportunity must end. And yet charities tell us that up to 100,000 more Scottish children are set to grow up in poverty because of the Westminster Government's actions. So we will stop the poverty-creating policies. The minimum wage must rise at least in line with inflation. And in the first year of an independent Scotland, we shall abolish the bedroom tax. But to release the potential of our people, we must do more. That is why we'll put into action our independence plan to transform childcare. It's a plan that was put to me first by the the late Professor Ailsa Mackay of Glasgow Caledonian University, a university whose motto is "For the Common Weal," and a woman who was passionate in her belief that independence could change Scotland for the better. We will start the process by transferring money from Westminster's priorities to Scotland's priorities. We will save £50 million a year because we won't be paying for the House of Lords, sending MPs to the Commons, or funding the Scotland office. In a time of tight resources, we don't believe it's right to go ahead with David Cameron's married couples tax allowance, a policy that discriminates against widows, single-parent families, and which only benefits 1/3 of married couples. For us, childcare for all families is the priority, not tax breaks for a few. And we'll have another priority. Spending £100 billion over a generation on a new generation of nuclear weapons is an obscenity. And therefore, let me give this cast iron guarantee. A yes vote on September the 18th is a vote to remove these weapons from mass destruction from Scotland once and for all. And doesn't this crystallise the choice between two futures? Westminster wants to renew a weapons system that can destroy the world. In an independent Scotland, we will build a system of childcare which will be the envy of the world. Now, let me tell you why this plan, the Ailsa Mackay plan, is so important. It's about changing the destiny of Scotland's poorest children. Early years education and childcare benefits the most those families who have the least. For many parents, childcare costs can be crippling. These costs are a barrier to work, and work is the real route out of poverty. With devolution, we're investing more than £250 million over the next 2 years to expand childcare. But to transform childcare, we need the powers of independence. Some people say, well, it could be done under devolution. But under devolution, nearly 90% of the tax generated on women's employment earnings goes straight to the Westminster Exchequer, not to Scotland. In an independent Scotland, with control of our budget, our resources, our taxation, we can invest far, far more in our children's future. High quality, universal childcare and early learning for all of Scotland's children. That's the independence pledge. Delegates, transforming childcare will open up opportunity for many, many more women in Scotland. But our ambitions must go much further. An equal opportunity to join the workforce, an equal opportunity within the workforce. In an independent Scotland, we'll want our companies to aspire to at least 40% female participation on their boards. And we'll have the power to enforce the Equal Pay Act. This issue of equality, of equal opportunities, is of the highest importance. Shona Robertson is the Minister in charge of equality in the Scottish Government. So today I've asked Shona to join the Scottish Cabinet as a full member and also to take on specific responsibilities for pensioners' rights. The Scotland we are seeking to build will be an equal Scotland, a Scotland where everyone has the opportunity to make the most of their talents. Youth employment and unemployment is the single biggest challenge we face in meeting that goal. The Scottish Government is working hard to tackle this blight of joblessness among the young. We have 25,000 and more modern apprenticeships. We're working with the voluntary sector. There's the guarantee of work or a training place for every 16 to 19-year-old. Sir Ian Wood's Commission is producing exciting proposals which will align our education and training systems ever closer to the workplace. That work has been overseen by Angela Constance as the only Minister for Youth Employment in Europe. Today, I have asked Angela to become a full member of the Scottish Cabinet and to take full responsibility for work training and the implementation of the Wood Commission. Why these appointments are important is they underline our commitment to equality, to pensioners, to helping young people of Scotland into the workplace. And subject to parliamentary approval, with these two outstanding ministers in the Scottish Cabinet, we will practice what we preach. The Cabinet is our board as a country, and women will make up 40% of the members of the Scottish Cabinet. Now, in this speech, I have stressed that an independent Scotland will be an inclusive Scotland. There are many different colours and threads woven into the Scottish tartan, and all must be celebrated. We need to mobilise all of the talents and all of the potential of all of our people. And we have to reflect that in how we will proceed after September the 18th, in the approach that we will take to bring Scotland together as we prepare to move forward. With a yes vote on September the 18th, that work will begin. An all-party Team Scotland negotiating group, including non-SNP members, will be convened. It will secure expertise from across the political spectrum, and indeed beyond Scotland. That group will begin negotiations with Westminster before the end of September. The discussions will be held in accordance with the terms of the Edinburgh Agreement. That means with respect and in the interests of everyone in Scotland, and indeed the interests of everyone in the rest of the UK. The campaigning rhetoric will be over. The real work will begin. And in March 2016, Scotland will become an independent country and join the international family of nations. Over the last week, delegates, as the great life of Margaret MacDonald has been celebrated, many pictures were posted showing Margot out campaigning for independence down the years. In one, which is on the cover of this week's Holyrood magazine, a young Margot is outside the Old Royal High School in Edinburgh holding a big poster of a love heart with the words, "Yes, we love you, Scotland." In this referendum debate, we often hear that sentiment. For some, it will be a love of the outstanding natural beauty of our country, the rich diversity of the life and the landscape. But our cause is about more than landscape, more than history, more than legends, no matter how romantic or how moving. The historian J.D. Mackey once wrote of Scotland's significance and vitality as a human community. I think that's what it was for Margot. She didn't just love Scotland, she loved Scots. She loved people. And she held the unshakable conviction that we could do better for and by our people. And this referendum will be one when we as a people no longer feel we need to ask of others, "Tell me what will happen to us." It will be one when the people of Scotland say, "We are going to take the future into our own hands." The eyes of the world will be in Scotland on September, watching intently to see what we will do. When the polls close and the voting has been done, let us resolve this. Let us keep the eyes of the world on Scotland, not to see how we are voting, but to watch in admiration at what we are building a new and better country. Let's take all our ideals, all our talent, all our commitment and all our energy. Let us build a nation that carries itself with pride and humility in equal measure, that looks to its own but gives to the world as much as it possibly can, which yields to no one in compassion, but to no one in ambition. And that come Independence Day, that country to walk tall among the nations of the earth, on that day, on every day thereafter. This is our moment to be a beacon of hope, a land of achievement. Our country, our Scotland, our independence